To the Engage for ESG webinar. Today we'll be addressing the disclosure requirements for the EU taxonomy alignment. And as you can see, we are delighted to have two speakers from Unión de Crédito Inmobiliarios. We have Katia Alves together with Eduardo Hernandez. They are the two experts from the pilot of the Engage that will explain to you what are their internal processes in order to extract the various informations that are included in the Engage template. So you can hear firsthand what is the effort that is needed in order to collect the information for mortgage and home loan renovations. Both Katia and Eduardo have a great experience because they've been issuing green RMBS over the past years. You probably remember the Green Belém and the Green Prado in Spain and Portugal. So this is a very important, let's say, addition to the Engage for ESG initiative. So in terms of the agenda for today's webinar, we look at a slightly updated version of the templates, is 1.1. This is because we continuously refining the templates thanks to the input from the various participants in the initiative, in particular the creation of a specific portal. And then, as I mentioned, we will hear about how does the extraction process is working out in terms of all the Engage templates from a dedicated lender. So we are going to have Katia Alves and Eduardo Hernandez from Unión de Crédito Inmobiliarios. And then we will mention how to become a test user, and we will announce the next 3 dates for the Engage for ESG webinars in September, October, and November. So, but without further ado, let's go into the Engage initiative. Just a brief introduction to explain what the initiative is all about. Well, first of all, it aims to contribute to the goals of the Green Deal, and more specifically by promoting the transparency for residential mortgages and home loan renovations. As a first building block of the initiative, we released in November the first version of the templates, the 1.0. And the aim of these templates is really to allow financial institutions to disclose the alignment to the EU taxonomy requirements with both the substantial contribution criteria and the climate delegated act. But the templates also will enable the assessment of the degree of sustainability of the mortgages and the classification of the investment for certain mortgages as sustainable, as according to the EU taxonomy. But it's not only the EU taxonomy, it's also the questions and answers that have been published from the EU Commission, the latest version in December last year, and we expect a new questions and answer shortly. Most importantly, also, as I mentioned earlier, the templates are not set in stone. They will continuously being updated and expanded to incorporate different relevant European sustainability regulations, most notably, for example, the Energy Performance for Buildings Directive that have been recently implemented. And how the templates will be made operational? Well, there is going to be the second pillar of the initiative, which is the portal, so a dedicated IT infrastructure, which is currently under development and will come to fruition later this year. It's also possible to have to be able to obtain the templates and to have further information also on the portal by sending an email below. Next, please. So in this visual, you can see what is the high-level concept of the initiative. At the very top, you have the General Data Protection Regulation, which is always a key in order to the transmission and the communication of data, the EU taxonomy regulations, and the related delegated acts, together with the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. On the left, you see the first pilot, UCI. In reality, is not only Spain; is also representing Portugal, and the two pillars: the engaged templates, together with the taxonomies, i.e., the guidance notes and the sample files, and the portal, i.e., the infrastructure collecting information. And on the right, the second pilot, a Dutch lender, Wonu, part of NN Bank. Who's going to benefit from this whole initiative? Well, on one side the borrowers, and on the other side the investors. In a sense, what we are translating the regulatory requirements into actionable data reporting fields. Next. So what is the structure of the templates? Well, we started off from templates that really were or they've been widely used in the market, and these are the ESMA templates, the underlying exposure for residential mortgages, i.e. Annex 2, and the other one, the Annex 6, for consumer loans. At the moment, we are working on the first building block, which is the one regarding the compliance with the EU taxonomy regulation, and this is for both mortgages for the acquisition of new buildings, i.e. already built or under construction, and existing buildings. And the other part that is work in progress is the loans for the renovation of existing buildings. In the future, we will also be integrating some of the disclosure requirements that are necessary, for example, to capture green financing programs, the likes of the European Investment Bank and European Investment Fund, ELENA, that are part of the renovation wave. And last but not least, we also consider stress test fields of the European Central Bank related to climate change, for example, flooding and heating. Now, what is the structure of the templates? Well, it's not only, let's say, an Excel file, but it also encompasses the guiding documentation, i.e. how to fill in the template itself, but also with some practical examples for a few lines on how to compile, which type of information is required. You can obtain these templates simply by filling in a form, and you have the link below. I should have said at the beginning, this presentation, together with the recording of the webinar, will be available on the Engage for ESG website in the next days. Next. Now, what's new in terms of the latest version, which is not a completely revamped version, but is an improvement compared to the 1.0. So as you can see here, this is the structure of the templates, where we have one asset side, which is based on the ESMA templates, the Annex 2 for the mortgages on one side, and this is at the loan level, plus some other fields related to the collateral, like the building unit level. And the ones in green are actually the parts which are the new files that are Engage specific. These are dealing with the parts that are relevant for the do not significant harm and substantial contribution criteria. Together with that, there is also a governance files that include aggregated information, a sort of investor report, which relates to the reference towards the minimum safeguards, the top 15%, and the other relevant documentation. What is also very important to stress is that the templates are transaction agnostic. What does it mean? It is basically that the templates can be used not only for asset-backed securities or mortgage, or I should say RMBS, but also for covered bonds and for mortgage loan portfolios. So the templates are flexible in this sense and modular at the same time. Next, you can see here a decision tree. This is the way that the English templates and this decision tree includes the logic of the templates itself. So in a sense, these templates are an add-on to existing market best practices, and these are scalable, meaning that it is always possible to add, incorporate new fields at a later time frame. I should also stress this: most of the fields are at European level. There are only a few fields that are at national level, because, for example, in some countries, like in the Netherlands, you don't have climate areas, whereas in Spain, for example, you have such distinction. The other important factor is that the framework is really designed to facilitate continuous additions, and it allows us also to incorporate the user feedback. That's the reason why we have version 1.1. Also integrating technological advancement and the industry best practices. As you can see here, in terms of the substantial contribution criteria, this is the 7.7 and the acquisition and the ownership of buildings. Here, the reference and the key factor is the construction year of the buildings, which is demarcated by the 31st of December 2020, in terms of the date for the application for the construction, and etc. And this fully reflects the way that the EU Taxonomy and the Climate Delegated Act is built. So with this, you can then access and you can relate whether a mortgage is taxonomy aligned, for example, because they have, as for Article 7.71, the EPC of a Class A, or because it's the top 15%, or because it reflects the 10% criteria in terms of the substantial contribution. Next. Okay, so in terms of the acquisition and ownership of the buildings here, and the specific fields in terms of the substantial contribution to the climate mitigation, and this is Annex 1, we have focused on the substantial contribution in terms of, this is both for existing and also new buildings. So, and some high level, let's say, overview in terms of this section, which we have divided into three subsections. One on the Class A, the other one in the top 15, and the significant contribution criteria of the 10%. Next. So in terms of the various, let's say, specific parts of the template itself, in terms of the acquisition and ownership of buildings, this is for the buildings that are built before 31st of December 2020. And the first part is the one which is related to the energy performance certificate, where this EPC is at least of a Class A. And you can see here that we have built in the green new fields some of the new fields that are going to help the connection between the collateral and the specific mortgage loan that has been created, in terms of making the connection with the ESMA templates together with the additional engage section. Most importantly, also in terms of the EPC, and as you know, the EPC vary along the time. This should be reported together with a valid date, irrespective of the methodology that has been applied for the EPC itself. Next. Okay, now talking about the top 15%. This is very important for the let's say buildings that have been built with a construction permit built before the 31st of December 2020. There are a range of different estimations regarding the techniques to perform a top 15% study, but we have tried to be flexible in terms of the templates itself. And we have very much referred to the questions and answers for the methodology that should be public and transparent. In a sense, what we have done here, we have incorporated both the numerator and the denominator that is used for the top 15% assessment, and some background, etc. Again, marked in green, those are the new 4 fields that have been added in the version 1.1 of the Engage template itself. Now, again, on the substantial contribution, but this is the one in terms of the acquisition of the ownership of buildings. Now moving into the construction of new buildings. Well, in terms of the taxonomy, it requires that the buildings with a construction permit application date after the 31st of December 2020, they need to be built according to the NZEB criteria, and the primary energy demand should be 10% less than the locally applicable threshold values. Clearly, those are all built at the national level. In terms of the second part, again, of this section, in the next slide, for the construction permit is very important in terms of the building after the construction on the 31st of December. And I think the relevance here is the answer to question number 106 of the European Commission. What is important here, we also tried to incorporate another answer, the previous one, and to try to interpret and to have the information that is reported as according to the questions and answers of the European Commission, in particular for the energy threshold, which is again related and depending on the national regulations. If we move to the next slide, here we also look at the minimum safeguards, and we add specific references in terms of the questions related to the economic activities. Most importantly here, we create a specific set of fields that have not changed compared to the previous compared to the previous version, sorry. And here we look at, in particular, at the current guidance in terms of the minimum safeguards of the taxonomy related to the economic activities that are in under 7.2 and 7.7 of the Climate Delegated Act. And we do not consider this applicable to the households, as we do not consider this to be undertakings. So those are kind of some interpretation based, again, on the questions and answers of the European Commission in terms of the taxonomy regulation. Next. Now, so in summary, what are the main differences between the version 1.0 and 1.1? Well, in terms of the building block 0, we have revised some of the optional fields in terms of making sure that this aligned with the Climate Delegated Act, and we introduce also the unique identifier also to allow and to cover non-securitized loans in the reported as according to the Engage templates. In terms of the building block 1, we have introduced 3 new fields. Those are necessary in order to track the transaction ID, the loan ID, and the collateral ID between the building blocks 0, the one of ESMA, and the 1, and the number 1, the one under the Engage templates. And we also have made some adjustment of the wording in some of the fields description. At the same time, also we have introduced a new field in the governance file, which is not loan level but aggregate, to track the transaction ID between the building block 0 and 1. And again, we have made some adjustments to the wording of certain fields. Okay, I think this concludes the part in terms of the description of the differences between the Engage templates version 1.0 and 1.1. again, those are you can request the templates. We already have received more than 50 requests for the template itself, and we are also happy to set up one-to-one demonstrations to explain to you more in detail, almost field by field, how the templates work from a let's say filling in a perspective. But I am very happy to hand over now to Katia Alves and to Eduardo Hernandez in terms of being able to describe how they managed at Unión de Créditos Inmobiliarios, in short, UCI, to extract the relevant information as according to the Engage template. Over to you, Katia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marco. Very nice to be here. Hope everyone is doing well. So I'm going to talk about a little bit how we started to collect data, and then Eduardo is going to get a little bit drilled down among the process. Can you please? Okay. So first of all, I would like to highlight the fact that our data extraction was a hard process, and we need the help of a lot of divisions inside the company. Not only the data people, but also the tech leads, the engineers, commercial people, and the risk people as well. So everyone must be on board to obtain a data, quality data from all the operations that we need to report to the ESG matters or to fulfill with taxonomy. So these things about data, even though we have a lot of information in our core database, we need to have their help for create a process in order to obtain value from it. So in this slide, what we want to present is that it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork between the ESG team, structured finance team, risk team, commercial team, of course, IT team is very, very important, and data team. Okay, so the biggest challenge at the end is to convince principally commercial people to obtain the information on the origination process. So we have to get them on board to do all of this. Okay, so based on our experience, we have been working with data, with the ESG data since 2020, 2019, 2020, and this process requires a strong focus on the origination stage to capture all the necessary to fulfill all the data that we need. Okay, next slide, please. When we approach the taxonomy and when we want to upload all the information in the templates and in the Engage templates, we decided, Eduardo and myself, we decided to divide the samples, the processes into two. We have into 2 plus 2, so it's 4 at the total. We have mortgage loans and personal loans, mortgage loans for 7.1 and 7.7, new buildings and acquisition, and for personal loans 7.2, renewables and energy improvements of 30% energy efficiency improvement. And inside of the personal loans and mortgage loans, we have split into portfolio, what we have already in our portfolio, and the second part is origination. So what are we selling? On the part, on both parts, origination and loans, as we may see here, we have an approach. We have two approaches. We have the credit risk analysis. When we make an analysis if the mortgage is acceptable or not, the same as for personal loans. We make a credit analysis risk, the client risk, his salaries, his bank accounts, etc., etc. So he has a credit rating, a score, and then we add the ESG rating. So we add the information about data collect to access the clients, all the think about, sorry, the clients know the appraisal. It means that we go and we see the collateral in terms of the property analysis, and we see all the information related with the appraisal, etc., and we add on all the part of the EPC and all of the fields that Marco has previously mentioned. So I would like to give this overlook, this snapshot about all the engagement of all the company, I would say. Split between two. New production is one thing, one strategy, portfolio is another strategy, and from then start working and drawing your process to better get the data, and never forget to add value. We need to search the value added for people to engage and to give this information. Eduardo, I pass it for you, please.
Okay. Yeah, Katia was also explaining this slide, so I think we can move to the next one. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. As Katia was explaining, these are the data sources. This is the inflow we get, out of which we've built this first sample of around 5,000 loans. This first collection of data from which we wanted to test the templates and see at what current status we are and where we can improve. The methodological technique we have used has been stratified sampling, because we wanted to make sure there was a fair representation of different characteristics our loans can have. Therefore, regarding the loan type, we can have mortgage loans and we can have home renovation loans. Even though this is still under construction, we wanted to start seeing what is the current status of this type of loans. Also, as it was mentioned before, we have activity both in Spain and Portugal, so we wanted to make sure there was a fair representation of both loans. Regarding the payment status, we have selected both loans that are performing and also NPLs. And regarding decisioning, we have selected loans originated during the previous years and also our legacy, the loans that were originated at the beginning of the century, or as it says there, before the great financial crisis. And after making this selection, these three are the first initial challenges we have identified. First of all, handling imperfect data, which is always a challenge regarding, well, the data quality, missing values and outliers we are currently identifying in this first 5,000 loan sample. Secondly, regarding the OCR technique, which is a technique we use in order to get information from documents that follow the same pattern, so we can find information in the same places. But for that, we need documents that haven't got any noise. We need to remove distorted images. We need to solve problems regarding to smudges and also low resolution scans. And on the third place, for this more difficult data to extract, which is the unstructured data. So when we have scanned information, but this is very disorganized, and there is not a clear pattern out of which we can extract in an easy way the sample. We need to analyze what the time consumption is going to be, so how much it's going to take us in order to identify the best strategy to collect this information. Next, please. Okay, based on this, we have made this classification of the information out of the 34 first initial fields. Well, this is the division according to how much information we have or we don't have. And based on this, we have the ones in the very green color, which are the 12 fields for which we have 100% of the information, which is that we have the information for all these 5,000 loans. These are the general activity designation, the NCEP threshold, whether the building is in the top 15 indicator or is not in the top 15 indicator, together with the explanatory variable and the methodology description, which is a methodology we work in together with our external partners, with a consultancy company we were working with. And I emphasize this because in Spain, we haven't got yet a general public document that we can take as a reference to continue building. And that's the reason why the 8 other fields related with the top 15, which can be found, unfortunately, at the bottom of the page in red color. Well, basically, that's the reason why they're there. the numerator, denominator, the indicator, the reference value, the threshold value, the document name, which still doesn't exist, so we can't refer to, the issuance date of this document, and the website where we can find this document. Besides this, the other 6 fields we have in this very green color are the fields related to the governance side of the template. So that would be where we expose our minimum safeguards, the description of these minimum safeguards and how we comply with them, the environmental objective, the website where we publish all the information related with how we accomplish with human rights, the website where we expose also the 8 fundamental conventions, and also the place in our website where we expose our alignment with the OECD guidelines for multinational enterprises. Then we go to a second category where we have 9 fields for which we have more than 80% of the information available. This could be either because we have the information for Spain, but we haven't got it for Portugal. Maybe it's ready, but we have to integrate the data. It could also be because of idiosyncratic characteristics of certain type of loans. So basically, this could be the 2 reasons. But well, the starting point is good enough because, as it said there, most of the information is currently available. After that, we go to this third bucket where we have a wide range of possibilities because it goes from 1 to 40%. But well, we wanted to make this 4 categories and not move into a 5th one. But yeah, basically what we can say about this category where these 4 fields are currently staying is that we have a lot of work ahead to do. And here we have the issuance date of the most recent EPC registration. We have to work in that. The data is a little bit unstructured on our side. So yeah, we need to define the strategy. Then the methodology used, there have been a lot of methodologies, particularly in Spain over the last years. We want to analyze it a little bit more before assuming that if the building was constructed in certain years, then we can assume that a certain methodology was used. We want to make sure there are no regional differences between places in Spain, for example. And after, and based on this, we can continue working, and hopefully this yellow color will turn more greenish with time. Then we have the validity length. For this field, at the beginning, we thought we were going to be able to make the assumption that the validity length in Spain was 10 years for all EPCs. But then we discovered that some EPCs, particularly those that are that have an F or a G mark, have only 5 years of validity. And again, before making an assumption that all F and G have 5 years of validity and the rest have 10, we want to study a little bit more all the cases we have. And finally, we have the EU equivalent method, the EPBD regime. And finally, those red colors, 8 of them are related to the top 15 we were previously speaking about. And then the other is the construction permit application date, for which, yeah, we need to define the strategy to collect. I mean, the information is collected, is scanned in most of the cases, but yes, on a very unstructured way. So we need to define the best strategy to get that information. So this is our current situation. I was going to say we're at halftime of the game, but probably it's more fair to say that we're still in first half of the game. So this is a continuing process. We will continue working these next weeks to try to improve, and also to make sure that what we consider to be green is well considered and we're not making any mistake. But we're already, yes, working on this. I think our initial situation is good based on the things that were said before, that we were the first RMBS issuers in Portugal and Spain. So this comes together with some commitments of green production that has made us also work in this information. Also, we were working with the European Mortgage Federation in another project that also involved the extraction of green information. So we will see, we will wait. I don't want to be presumptuous, and I want to wait until we see how the rest of the entities are. But I think it's fair to say that our initial point should be good enough, but without any complacency, and having in mind that there's still a lot of work ahead for us. So can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, and here we wanted to expose basically the process of the assignation of the EPC level we recently performed in Portugal. The methodology we used basically includes the following steps. First of all, this first step of standardizing the addresses of the properties in the portfolio. So verifying that everything is well validated with the correct street map that allows to identify the municipality, the street, the number, making sure that there are no incomplete or incorrect formats. For this, we have used also, together with the partner that helps us in this, a software that basically helps having the information in a correct, in a consistent and precise manner. After we have this, we check what share of these properties can actually be assigned a real EPC, which is obviously a perfect case scenario. And if unfortunately this is not the case, then we have to work on estimating the EPC. So yeah, can we move to next, please? Yeah, so based on this, we can have three possible outcomes. We can have, as we were saying, the perfect scenario where we can do a real assignment. If not, we have to work on an estimation, which we will see in more detail in the next slide. But yeah, basically this consists in assigning the most frequent label in a certain area. This area can be in order of priority, well, the same building, the same house number. If we have some references there, that's going to be rich information out of which we can start building. If not, we move to the street, to the road, to see if we have some information there. If this is not the case, we will analyze the postal code, and if not, we would move to the location. If not, we move to the third stage. There are basically two reasons why the EPC may not be estimated. As we were saying before, if the process of getting the address cannot be normalized, then we cannot continue the process. And if the property is normalized and it's well identified in the system, but there is neither a real EPC reference in the repository, nor there is enough information in the street, road, postal code, or location, then unfortunately we cannot assign an EPC label to that property. And thank you. Okay, and well, based on this and diving in the methodology, well, first of all, as we were saying, the most important thing is to guarantee that the most represented value is obviously the one that is assigned. But for this, there are two conditions that must be met. The first condition is that there is enough observations available so that we can, the most frequent tag in the association level is good enough. And then we need to have enough proportions of +1, -1. So if we're going to assign the C label, we need to have enough observation in the range going from B to D. And yeah, with this enough adjacent information, we can perform. And what are the minimum EPCs we need? Well, that's what is exposed in this table. If we are going to base the EPC assignation in the same house number, in the same building, then we need a minimum EPC labels of 3. If we're talking about the same street, we'll go up to 5, up to 7 if we're talking about the same postal code, and at least 10 observations if we're speaking about the town. The minimum observations of this +-1 range we were speaking before, needs to be 50%. So even though there are enough observations, if there's a wide dispersion of these observations, unfortunately, we cannot we cannot assign an EPC label, and we will have to wait to see in the future what we can do to get that label. And in order to verify that this whole process makes sense, in order to analyze the predicted capability of this process, we do this backtesting process, which basically is select, well, we wanted to have a 95% confidence level. For that, according to the sample which we were working in Portugal, implied analyzing more than 300 fields. 300 fields, which are real EPCs we have, but we assume we didn't know that EPC real label. And we include all these properties into the let's say the assumption that we did not know them and we wanted to estimate, into the estimation process. So what you can see in the columns there, A, B, C, D, E, and F, are the real EPCs for which we acted as if we didn't know them, and we put them in the process of estimating what their EPC labels would have been, and then we compare them with what they really were. And this gives us the relief that at least 75% of the cases for each EPC, the prediction would have been correct. And if this was not the case, the results are pretty close. So yeah, basically the dispersion is low, the winning rate or the share of the correct assumptions is high enough, and this gives us confidence that this process works well. And if you can go to the final slide, thank you. Yeah, we wanted to reflect a little bit of the impact that being a pilot in the Engage is having for us. Well, first of all, I would like to highlight that the templates are, with any sort of doubt, a very valuable and rewarding experience for us. It helps us comply with the regulatory framework that is coming, improve our data quality, and also increase our market knowledge. Among the benefits, well, first of all, we can use this for self-assessing ourselves to know what share of the information we have of all these points is already available, to detect outliers, etc. Secondly, what share of complete and consistent validation rules we're also correctly complying with. Then it also increases our market visibility and reputation. It helps us, it reduces our operational risk, which is something so important, right, for financial institutions. On fourth place, it also gives us the authority to interact with the Spanish and Portuguese authorities, and hopefully make them, especially the Spanish authorities, speed up and have more information, publicly information available we can use. And finally, I would like to say that the Engage templates represent a harmonized blueprint across Europe for multiple users and investor requests. And among the challenges we have highlighted, well, before the continuous, besides the continuous challenge that is obviously speeding up and getting all this information for ourselves, on the Spanish side of our business, the main challenge would be to pressure the public authorities to start issuing more information. Hopefully, with the arrival of the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive and these 2 years they have for the transposition of it, this will speed up things, and yeah, we will soon have more information. And the Portuguese challenge we find is more internal one, and it's coordinating with the information we have in our business in that country. So finally, I would like to say that without any type of doubt, this project helps us understanding our strengths and also our limitations as an organization. It encourages us to enhance our information processes, and it provides deeper insights into the entire sector. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Katia and Eduardo. This is a very, very interesting insight into the process and the procedure of a green lender and the policies and the practices that are utilized inside. I think we have a we have a couple of questions that are coming up in terms of in terms of the extraction process, and one which is very important goes also to the core is actually how they if I can relate them here now. So the first one is in terms of the estimations for the EPC. What are these typically higher or lower compared to the real EPC that you can find in the national or the regional databases?
Well, this was actually the second thing we wanted to test by doing this back testing. So we wanted to test the share of correct EPCs we were detecting, and also if for this amount of errors, if they were positively or negatively biased. And what we found was, well, it depends in the EPC label. Obviously, regarding the top EPC, regarding the A label, you can only have a small negative bias because it's impossible that the real EPC is higher than the one estimated. But and also the other way around, with the lower marks, you can only have a positive bias. And but regarding all the middle ones, we have seen that there is not a significantly a statistically significant bias. There is a small positive bias in some, small negative bias, but nothing statistically significant.
Thanks. There's another question because now the Energy Performance for Buildings Directive, the number 4, has been approved. And clearly one of the pillars of the directive is to make the more information readily available in the next years. There are no, let's say, jurisdiction in Europe where there is a full, let's say, categorization of EPC for the whole building stock. How long do you think it can take for example, because you're working in Spain and Portugal, to have a full coverage?
You want to jump with this, Katia? Or...
Okay. Yesterday, Eduardo and myself, we were discussing just this subject, and it's our opinion. We know that the EPBD 4 has been approved recently. We know that member states had to transpose this directive into their jurisdiction. And we know also that DPCs are not uniform in all member states. So we think honestly that in terms of uniformity and in all of this transposition, etc., will take some time. We are in a good way. We have a path that's good for the European Union, but no less than 2 years, I would say. But it's our opinion. It's our opinion and the opinion of the experts in the field. Maybe more, maybe less, depending on all of the strategy of Europe in this new approach that is coming. But I would say that because now we are going to start working with continuing on the green path, and also we have to add all the things about competition and other matters, economical matters. So in minimum 2 years, I would say, our opinion.
Thanks, Katia. We have a couple of additional questions. Maybe I start from the last one. And the last one is actually important because it goes to the core of the Engage for ESG initiatives. Here, and the question is, how are confidentiality issues being resolved? Clearly, Eduardo, you mentioned earlier, the fact of the matter of the address. So in terms of the ESMA templates, what is used is not the address, but the regulators they use to the NACE code. And for this reason also we have used the loan ID and the collateral and the building ID. So how have you resolved within UCI this issue?
Yes, as we were saying, this is definitely a very important point. We're also working in this project with the legal side of the company, making sure that there is obviously absolutely no violation of the law, that all data is completely anonymized, and yeah, basically our strategy is adopting an extra layer of safety, making sure that all the information goes through our legal teams.
Thanks. I should also say that on top of that, there is an agreement that each of the banks or the lenders will have to sign or to agree with before sending any kind of information. So there is a data processing agreement in place before submitting any form of data. You will see that in the next slide. I think there is another more let's say more generic question, which is how this engaged database can be combined with the initiative in Portugal between ADENE and the financial institutions to provide information of the EPC. I think I try to respond, and please, Katia and Eduardo, please jump in. I think what you can see is that the type of information that we are trying to extract and to provide as according to the EU taxonomy alignment is helps not only the financial institutions but really also the databases, because there are also some issues regarding the data quality of the databases themselves that the banks realize in terms of addresses, etc. And so I think this is in a sense is a positive loop in terms of on one side the lenders and financial institution collecting information, on the other side also providing feedback to the local, the regional, the national databases in terms of the quality of some of the issues that lenders find when running such queries. But I don't know, Eduardo or Katia, if you want to add something more.
No, as you were saying, any other initiative that may come, I don't know if I understood it right. So how this intersects with an initiative by ADEN and the financial institutions in Portugal, right?
Yes, correct.
I'm not aware of this particular initiative, so I don't know what is the information. But yeah, I mean, if this initiative moved on, certainly by using this gold standard that the engaged template is becoming, we would certainly be in a better position to face whatever new obligations or new initiatives we may adhere to and may come.
In terms of the national databases, I would say that Portugal in that matter is very far away, because we have all the information gathered on in a portal at the national level. In the other countries, we are working on that. In Spain, we are working on that. The ministries are working on that, on having a national database. Here, there's a trigger that is the fact of the national databases several times are based on estimations, and taxonomy and the delegated act and the PBD4, etc. They demand really taxonomy and DPC. So for the origination, it's easy. So you demand the EPC on the origination. So you can get, even you are a financial entity or a real estate agent or even a developer, you can get the EPC, no problem, for the origination. The problem would be for the portfolio. Imagine myself that I have a mortgage for 30 years and I bought my house 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I didn't need an EPC. So my house would be cataloged in the database with estimation. Estimations today are quite accurate. So The fact is if taxonomy would accept my collateral to be or not to be in for eligible purposes. So depends here with who are you working with. If you are working in an auditor that will accept that, if you are working in an auditor that is not accepting that. So these kind of questions are real questions, because the delegated act is very objective. It says that no estimations accepted, but at the end we know that in real life it's not like that, because portfolio is not about going to my old clients asking for an EPC and to spend 100 euros or 150 euros for each collateral for having a real EPC.
Thanks, Katia and Eduardo for the explanations. So also responding to the previous questions in terms of the confidentiality of the information. What are basically the why to become an engaged test users like the Unión de Crédito Inmobiliario as well? First of all, because we are trying to create some standardized templates for the compliance of the taxonomy versus multiple, not always consistent questionnaires. And in terms of, we are also including examples of the information to be reported by the dedicated web guidelines. I think it was important is also that we adopt a user-friendly format such as CSV. It's valid for mortgage portfolios, RMBS transaction, and cover bonds, and is, as you can see from the discussions that we are having with UCI and also at the same time with WONU, it's really being also tested with really experts in the fields from this perspective. Next, please. So those are the steps in terms of how to become a test user. So first you can request the engage template. So there is a link there. Then you can set up a 30-minute one-to-one demo with the team. This is an optional step, but you can clearly set this up. Again, in order to address the confidentiality of the information, even if it's mostly anonymized, you need to sign an agreement to submit the specific sample data. And once you submit then the sample to the Engage portal through a specific mortgage sample file, you will receive then a report in terms of the EU taxonomy compliance. There you can see also the link in order to obtain the general email address and also to obtain the templates themselves. Next. So in terms of how does it work in practice, we have more than 15 institutions that have already requested the templates themselves. We are working on the clarifications. We have several sessions already being set up with different lenders. As I said, this is a European standard. So as you can imagine, you need to take into consideration also the national nuances and different interpretations. And it will be possible also to submit the templates in the portal in a few months down the line in November. Again, subject to a standard legal agreement in place. And then it will be possible not only to submit it once, but to submit it various times, because as we can imagine, as UCI and other institutions are doing, it will take time also to enrich the information. So it's not going to be a one-off exercise, it's going to be a kind of an ongoing exercise. Finally, then you will get a compliance report generated from the portal. So what is coming up next in the remaining after the summer? So we start also having the other pilot, WONU, to explain its extraction process. This is going to be on Wednesday, the 18th of September. And then we have already announced the couple of other webinars on 24th of October, the 21st of November. And will be possible also to register on the Engage website for the next events. At the same time, also we welcome clearly you submitting questions question to us. So I think we are now at the hour mark, and I would like to thank particularly Katia and Eduardo for their time, and I wish you all a great summer break. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Bye bye. Have a nice summer. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Bye.